And I have been feeling convicted because there's in Psalms 139, I can't quote the scripture directly, but it's talking about asking God directly, God, where am I falling short? God, tell me my sins. God, like, please open and reveal these things in my life so that I can get rid of them to serve you better. It's about fixing what's in here before you go out there, okay?
Wow, that's fantastic work, man. You have the wisdom of a 6,000 or 7,000 year old man. That's fantastic. We don't have to fill up the whole blackboard after all.
Far be it from me to judge a person who's found religion, even when it's a thought only famous because of only freaks. I'm not doubting her sincerity. Seriously, I believe that she believes what she's saying, but that doesn't stop me from doubting her resolve. You found religion, woman. Congratulations. In fact, you found religion so hard that you're proclaiming it so loudly that it's annoying everybody around you. And it's very easy to celebrate this in the beginning. You'll quote the Bible and say the words and sing the songs and feel reborn. But here's the problem. You sold your body online for cash, and that's not going away just because you found religion. Regardless of what you do or what you say, you will constantly be reminded of your past, compliments of the internet, your congregation, and just being around in public. Now, rumor has it that you deleted your Only Freaks channel, and that's all well and good, but the internet is forever, sister, and your past will always be front and center for the planet to witness until the end of time.
So this is what God's been laying on my heart lately. So, I'm a female. I bought a lot of clothes and all this crap. It's truly crap, by the way. Materialistic things are just crap. So God has been laying on my heart that I need to be more modest, okay? And that is literally like to be able to find your future husband and truly like not tempt others with your body or with anything else. God is telling me, hey, Nala, you need to be more modest, okay? So I was like, okay, God, what is it that I can do to become more modest? So I have bagged up. There's like so many more downstairs. I have bagged up all of my clothes, not all of them, but like anything that I felt that might be lustful or immodest, and bagged it up. I'm throwing it away. I don't care.
Nobody cares, Sean. Nobody cares.
Future husband? Woman, you are just an Only Freak star. You celebrated your open promiscuity on podcasts with massive followings. Any man who'd want to marry you would have to take a massive blow to the head with a crescent wrench before even taking you out on a date, let alone walking down the aisle. But let's say, for the sake of argument, that closed head injury was never properly treated and somehow you two got married. Your neighbors will excommunicate you from the community. You'll be the center of every rumor. Your husband will be hated, and any kids you have with this guy will automatically be shunned everywhere. Face it, woman, you can get rid of all of your possessions in a vain attempt to show that you've changed, but it won't do you any good, because regardless of how you feel and whatever tenets your religion carries, your past matters. And though your religion may forgive and forget, the court of public opinion does neither.
I've given away all of my designer things. I don't own one designer thing right now. I've kept a couple sentimental things, but that is truly because they were just gifts. But God is truly like speaking to me and telling me like, hey, this is your wickedness right here. And I need you to take care of it for me so that I can plant my seed in you and so that you can go out into the world and be a true soldier for Christ.
Wow. That's amazing.
So you're loudly proclaiming your faith, and you've given away about 200 pounds of used clothing that you only wore 3 times in a fiscal year. Woman, I seriously don't think you're prepared for this. Your resolve is going to be relentlessly tested for the next 6 to 7 decades. And personally, I don't think you're up for the task. I only say this because there's plenty of women before you who have tried this very same thing, and it ended with them going back to Only Freaks or the industry, as it's the only means of being able to support themselves. It's insanely easy to have conviction when it's not challenged, but I hate to say it, I'm gonna give you a 10% chance that this will actually stick, and I feel like I am giving you incredibly generous odds when I say that. Once you realize that you're not gonna be making any money and that you're gonna receive nothing but scorn from everyone around you, you will be tested, and I don't think you have what it takes to see this decision through. Feel free to prove me wrong.
Good luck.
Are you a bad husband? You might be if you do any of the following things. Now, before you get upset with me, I've compiled this list based off of the things I hear most often from women who are unhappy in their relationships. First one is not helping with the housework, because women are done with this narrative that the women do all the cooking, the cleaning, and taking care of the children. It's just old, it's been done, and women are upset about it, okay? So get on board, help around the house, do some dishes, pick up your dirty clothes.
Nope. That would be a waste of time.
But there's a problem with that statement, woman. Well, outside of everything. If a man doesn't do the dishes, you say he's a bad husband. But if the husband does do the dishes, but in the wrong way, he's still a bad husband. If he doesn't do the laundry, he's a bad husband. But if he does do the laundry but doesn't fold the towels properly, he's still a bad husband. You see the pattern here? If a modern wife is constantly complaining that her husband isn't doing enough chores, my guess is he stopped doing them because he was constantly getting yelled at regardless of what he did. Most men actually want to make their wives happy, but wives make it impossible by being incapable of being happy, or at least grateful for their husbands for what they do and provide. And when you're constantly being locked in a case of the spousal Kobayashi Maru, you ultimately just check out, because after a while, you are tired of being told that you're wrong in every single capacity. And if you can't help out in the way she wants, then it's just better to stay out of the way entirely.
Reacting with defensiveness every time your wife shares an emotion or how something you did affected her. Please learn how to manage your reactions so that the two of you can communicate instead of fight.
Projection, Your Honor. If anybody is guilty of that, it's clearly the wife. Women claim they want a man who's emotionally available, but that's the kind of wash that oftentimes requires a number of hogs. You see, men are expected to remain stoic. It's one of the many reasons why men are awesome. And in the moment that the husband isn't stoic, the wife will resent him for it and find herself in a permanent state of turnoff. She will then weaponize his weaknesses against him for whatever reason so she can justify cheating and or filing for divorce. But go ahead and tell me how men are bad husbands for remaining stoic when the wife is constantly nagging at him for doing or not doing something that was pathetically inconsequential.
3, putting things away in the wrong place or not remembering to do the thing she's asked you to do 1,000 times. See, when you don't remember, what you're doing is you're showing her that you don't value her enough to remember to do the thing that she thinks is important. It may seem like a little thing, but it's actually pretty disrespectful. It makes her have to add more to her already probably pretty stacked plate.
Oh, really?
You know what else is disrespectful? Implying that a man's head is constantly empty and he's just a dope for having a bad memory. Wives love saying that the mental loads they suffer far outweigh any issues a husband might have, which is why the husband not only needs to provide financially, but also needs to do her share of the work because she needs time to think about stuff. And what kind of stuff is she thinking about? Hell, I don't know, and personally I don't want to know. Odds are the thoughts are less than nothing. And if we have a bad memory, that automatically makes us bad husbands. And instead of working with us to try to find a solution to prevent things from being forgotten, it's just easier to blame the man for intentionally being evil by using weaponized incompetence. Which is weird because I'd argue a majority of men out there aren't that intentionally evil. That takes too much time and energy that could be dedicated to playing some Tecmo Super Bowl.
Number 4, ignoring her bids for connection. I've also seen this called the bird test. This is just something that the Gottmans labeled as something that helps partners connect. It's called a bid for connection. And they call it the bird test because the example they use is when you see a bird out the window and your wife says, "Wow, what a pretty bird outside." You have 2 options. Connect with her bid and look for the bird. Or 2, ignore her bid for connection. When you ignore her bid for connection, you're giving her little tiny micro rejections, and over time, this makes her feel invalidated.
Oh, poor you.
Micro rejections? That's a thing now? Alright, fine, let's go there. Woman, has it ever occurred to you that though we may have unintentionally caused a few micro rejections, men are subjected to, shall we say, macro rejections all the time? Outside of men's bids to help constantly being scrutinized, how many men have been told by their wives that their ideas are stupid, that there's no time to do the things that they want to do, that they're incompetent, that she doesn't want to have bedroom fun with them, or that they can't do anything right unless their wife is there to clean up the mess? And lest we forget the tens of thousands of hours worth of wives going online to openly bash and insult their husbands on social media, TikTok, and even gossiping with their girlfriends. Hell, if not seeing a stupid bird is a micro rejection, what do you call looking at a man and straight up accusing him of being a bad husband?
And number 5, not even trying to date her. I don't care what season you're in your relationship. You can go out and have a free picnic in the backyard, or you can have a sitter come over and take her out to a fancy dinner. Whatever season you're in your marriage, date your wife. She loves it. I took a poll on this on Instagram. Every woman wanted to be dated. Not a single wife said no thank you. This is a very powerful tool for connection and intimacy. Husbands, I hope this was helpful to you. I hope it didn't come off as too harsh, and I hope that you're able to absorb some of the information. And if your wife sends this to you, don't get defensive, okay?
You! I will think of you as I throw up into the toilet.
Sounds like a typical marriage counselor. It's always the man's fault. Well, guess what, woman? Men want to be desired as well. We want to be loved and appreciated. And we want our wives to initiate bedroom fun every now and again. But for some reason, whenever marital problems comes up, it always seems to be the husband's fault for not doing enough. And yet, through all of the venomous gibberish you spewed out of your pie hole, at no point have you mentioned anything that the wives are doing to make things work. Because you're implying that the wives are doing everything and the men are just sitting around and reaping the benefits. Seems to me like you think that men just suck at being married, when all I'm hearing is that the wives sound ungrateful regardless of what her husband does. So if you ever need living proof that marriage counseling is a complete and utter sham, just take a look at this mistress of filters here and save yourself a couple $1,000.
So you can see that is, I mean, I'm no economist, but that is a load of dough.
Okay, so I was talking to a friend the other day and she said, Nelly, what is your type? And I thought, I don't really have a type.
Liar! Liar! Liar!
And then I remembered I actually do have a type. I don't date ugly guys. Before you X out, let me explain. I used to think if I go for the ugly guy, that somehow that would be safer. As in, he would not ghost me or reject me, because in my mind, I had the upper hand. And yes, I know I was going for them for the wrong reasons.
Okay, so let's go ahead and add a little context here before we put Lady Makeup Cakes in her rightful place. When she refers to a man that she considers ugly, I think it's safe to assume she's not talking about legitimately unattractive men. Considering that she believes she's entitled to Chad, and Chad has an exceptionally rare level of attractiveness in regards to income and physical looks, I think we can safely infer that Chad sets the baseline for human attractiveness by her standards. Any man lower than that particular baseline is determined to be ugly, again by her standards. So effectively, in her mind's eye, any average man is pretty much in the ugly category because it would give her the upper hand, which I'm assuming is dominant control of the relationship because she's assuming the guy won't be able to do any better than her, which is just downright silly. If a man wants to do better than her, he just needs to break up with her and spend the next few years alone to see an immediate upgrade in the quality of life department.
But here's what no one tells you about dating the ugly guy. They also go for girls for the wrong reason. Let me explain. A lot of them were rejected by cute girls growing up. So once they get older, they seek revenge. So they'll sweep them off their feet, they'll be chivalrous, and then they'll reject them.
Oh wait, you're serious?
But that sounds more like the plot to a terrible teen comedy from the 1990s or a video store horror flick from the 1980s more than anything that happens in actual reality. For the most part, average men do not have time for revenge. It's petty, takes a lot of energy, and if we dedicated that much time to trying to spurn your less than mid self, then where would we find time to play Soul Calibur 2 with our real friends? And just because that incredibly specific thing happened to you, it's kind of unfair to apply it to all of the average men in the world. Most of us just want a woman who will give us trust, peace, respect, and some back rubs. But considering there's a massive shortage of women who are willing to do less than the bare minimum for average dudes, we're just gonna go back to our GameCubes. It's a seriously underrated system and much more worthwhile to keep around than you.
And you know what sucks more than being ghosted? Being ghosted or rejected by an ugly guy. It is the biggest mind. So yeah, that's why I don't go for ugly guys. And by the way, I'm not saying I'm a supermodel, but you should be attracted to the person you're dating, and you should go for them for the right reason.
What? Ah.
Well, that so-called ugly guy probably didn't appreciate being treated like a peasant. There's nothing wrong with having some self-respect, but there's a fine line between having self-respect and being an insufferable wannabe queen. Now, it's important to remember, average guys are so attention-starved these days that if a woman shows any interest in them, it's actually kind of a shock to the system. So if a guy who's ignored by women 99% of the time rejects you via ghosting, to us, it's no big deal. We get ghosted all the time, but when it happens happens to you, it's somehow a spurn against your honor, and it hurts because you weren't getting rejected by Chad. That's only because Chad had better things to do with his time than bother texting with you at all, because those toenails aren't gonna clip themselves, you know. And that's gonna do it for today's video, gentlemen and gents. And as always, if you find that my particular brand of humor is bringing you to the brink of laughter, then why don't you scroll on down and click that like and subscribe button, ring the notification bell, leave a couple of comments, and let's give the good old-fashioned middle finger to the YouTube algorithm. Thank you so much for checking out the new video, and until next time, peace out, homies.